And to its credit, it has made progress in paying out claims. But Florida still pays among the lowest level of benefits in the nation. And some who lost jobs like Scott Bedford still can't get any benefits due to the clunky system and the tangle of bureaucracy.
Who says so much of the bill revolves around the most pressing issue of our time, namely, that is not the reality contained in that bill. That's why he says nearly every GOP lawmaker is against it.
Everybody, there are 4 Social Security changes that President Biden has proposed in Congress. Economists say that these changes could strengthen Social Security, and many beneficiaries can expect to receive a huge benefit boost in just a few weeks. Now, here is the most important news that I want you guys to know, because let me tell you, everybody, President Biden and the lawmakers in Congress are making some huge changes for the fourth stimulus check and Social Security benefits as well. Now, Social Security recipients will receive an 8.7% increase in 2023, the largest cost of living adjustment in more than 40 years. The increase will remain about $146 more a month on average for most retirees, but it'll be a few more weeks more before beneficiaries see the change in their checks actually. Now, folks, Social Security recipients will receive an 8.7% increase in 2023. That's the largest COLA ever in more than 40 years. And the increase will mean about $146 more a month on average for most retirees, but it will be a few more weeks before beneficiaries see the change in their checks. The COLA increase goes into effect with December 22 benefits, which will appear in checks sent out in January of next year. Now, the Social Security payments are also made on a rolling basis, and it's all determined by your birthday. But that means that the first check with the increased amount will come on January 11th, January 18th, and the 25th. So, COLA increases are determined by the Consumer Price Index. It shows you the year-over-year price in changes for goods and services, folks, for July, August, and September. The 2023 jump is the largest one-time increase since '81, when benefits rose 11%, and a large boost from the 5.9% increase that took effect this year. Social Security recipients will see a hefty Social Security increase of 8.7%, and that's the largest COLA ever since the 1980s. The first group to see the $146 bump in monthly benefits will be SI recipients, who will get the COLA in December 2022. Now, according to CNET, it's because SI recipients always get their checks on the first of each month. The first of the month in January 2023 falls on a holiday and a weekend, so the checks are sent out on the nearest business day, folks. Now, let's not forget about this. A Social Security COLA is an annual change the government makes to the program each year to help the value of checks keep up with inflation. It's based on the CPI for urban wage earners and clerical workers for the third quarter of each year. The CPIW that the government bases COLAs on is calculated by looking at the prices of a basket of goods that a typical urban wage worker might buy. It actually doesn't provide the best measure of senior spending habits. Some have argued that Social Security COLAs should be calculated just on the CPI index for the elderly, which may also consider a better reflection of the average senior spending, but that's not the case. Since the 90s, the Social Security program revenue comes from the 12.4% payroll taxes on earned income. Money will also continue to be collected as long as Americans keep working. The bad news is that existing payout levels won't be sustainable for much longer unless lawmakers on Capitol Hill do something about Social Security. The trustees report estimates that the Old Age and Survivors Trust Fund, which is responsible for retired workers and survivor benefits, will completely exhaust its asset reserves by 2034. This year, all earned income up to $147,000 is subject to a 12.4% payroll tax. However, earned income above the maximum taxable earnings cap is exempt from the payroll tax. And just Joe Biden wants to close the bulk of this loophole by making all earned income above $400,000 once again subject to the Social Security payroll tax. It's a donut hole, everybody, that will be created between the maximum taxable earnings cap and $400,000 where earned income will remain exempt. But thanks to the annual cost of living adjustment and wage growth, the donut hole would shrink over time. One of the biggest challenges that retirees deal with is growing expenses as they age. Medical care and transportation costs are two examples of expenditures, folks, are increasing as Americans reach their late 70s, 80s, and beyond. President Biden has also proposed increasing the primary insurance amount by 1% annually from 78 to 32. An 82-year-old Social Security beneficiary would also see an aggregate 5% bump to their payout, which could actually be used to offset higher expenses.
Nonpartisan officials just doing their jobs are the consequence of lies told for power and profit. lies of conspiracy and malice, lies repeated over and over to generate a cycle of anger, hate, vitriol, and even violence. In this moment, we have to confront those lies with the truth.
During his speech, McConnell said, "We all know inflation and the economy are the biggest problems facing Americans today. We are a big and a diverse country. 93% of Americans hardly ever agree on anything, but Democrats are unifying the country in unhappiness, at a dark path down which have taken our economy." McConnell once again blamed inflation on Congress, saying that last year, without a single Republican vote, the stimulus checks passed. McConnell warned that a budget reconciliation package under negotiation is going to put more pressure on the economy, citing more than $200 billion in tax increases. The package would include to extend the solvency of Medicare. McConnell told reporters business owners are watching apprehensively as Democrats debate another dose of bad policies. Now, you can expect a big stimulus check soon. Democrats and Republicans have officially signed into law legislation that is going to provide new stimulus checks to millions of low-income households with up to $1,000 in financial aid. Last year, the enhanced child tax credit provided millions of parents in the U.S. with financial relief. The last expanded child tax credit payment was dispersed in December, but the pause led to the increase in the number of children in poverty from 12.1% to 17%, also putting 3.7 million children below the poverty line. And now with inflation on the rise, plus a possible recession looming, several states and lawmakers are planning to send families with more money starting this year. 12 states are granting additional child tax credit to low-income families. Many families in need of extra money due to the cost of inflation will get $1,000 per child annually. Governor Phil Scott of Vermont has signed a new tax cut package that includes a statewide child tax credit for children to 5. The tax credit will phase out at a rate of $20 per every $1,000 earned over that threshold. The credit is fully refundable. The bill also allows for a fully refundable child independent care credit of 72% of the federal child independent care credit allowed to the taxpayer. It increases the earned income tax credit to 38% of the amount granted by the federal government and includes tax relief for student loan borrowers, retirees, and veterans. The final version of the $40 million bill allocates $32 million to pay for the new statewide child tax credit, which legislators estimate will help more than 30,000 Vermont children. In a statement, Governor Scott called the bill a step in the right direction, knowing that previous proposals included a package worth nearly $50 million.
Will pass the Active Shooter Alert Act. Mr. Morelli described it very well, and I agree with you. It is a step, and we must have what you said you support, and I do too, the ban on assault weapons and other lethality. This vital legislation that we're doing today will quickly warn communities when a gunman opens